Hello, this is Scarlet and Rage Podcast, and I am Michael. Rage is here with me, and I tell you what, this is going to be a therapy session for you guys. Buckeye fans, come here. Our arms are open. We're going to have a therapy session together because we all need it after another very disappointing performance under Ryan Day. And it brings us no joy to have to continue to say those things and to have to continue to point out the reality of where the program is headed under Ryan Day. But we're going to talk about it. It's not going to be pleasant at times. It's frustrating. I know that it stung. It's embarrassing. It's extremely embarrassing as a Buckeye fan, as a proud Buckeye fan. It's extremely embarrassing. But we're going to get through it. We're going to talk about it over this next hour or so. And we've got a lot of topics that we're going to cover and some that I think are going to be very enlightening for you. But before we get to that, we've got a special guest. And before we get to our special guest, Rage, I'd just like you to give us your just opening thoughts. I know you've got a lot to say, but just what can you give us right now?
Yeah, like you said, this is a therapy session. I've been actually really depressed from this. I was not expecting this. Who could expect something like that? That was a despicable, disgusting, dastardly performance. Yeah, throw it whatever three-syllable letter D word you want to throw in there, but nothing else can be said. And I will say this before we get into what you're about to get into, but I mean, it's very clear. These are our thoughts. These are not somebody else's thoughts, but Ryan Day needs fired, and he needs fired immediately. He's 0-3 versus the SEC, and he's 1-3 against Michigan. It's time for him to go. He's been nothing but a failure in Columbus. But go ahead, sir.
So there we have it. That's what we're going to be getting into. We're going to be unpacking the case to fire Ryan Day. And before we get to that, we'll talk about a little happier times. My sister here is with me, and this is Michelle.
Hello.
Michelle, good to have you. And she actually has a YouTube channel much larger than this little startup channel. She has Force of Light Entertainment, where she does movie reviews and
movie reactions.
And what other kind of videos do you guys do?
Mostly movie reactions, trailer reactions, movie reviews, and then on Mondays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we talk pop culture on a live stream.
Nice. So if any of you guys are into that particular genre, go over and check out Force of Light Entertainment.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, we will have it. We will have it down in the description. Michelle, you grew up an Ohio State Buckeye fan.
Yeah, I've been to several games.
And we went to the '98 Sugar Bowl. Do you remember much about that game?
Yeah, I remember they dominated Texas A&M.
Texas A&M, yeah. Yeah, we dominated the game and somehow won 24-14, But that was a little bit of there was a little bit of frustration even in that game because we were so much better than Texas A&M, and we should have beat them, 35-38 to 14, and we just, kind of kept shooting ourselves in the foot and kicking field goals. But that was a fun season. There wasn't a lot fun under John Cooper, but that was a fun season, in my opinion, even though it was also disappointing with the Michigan State loss. We capped it off with a big Sugar Bowl win. And Jay, you and I are both about Ohio State winning against teams out of the region and out of the conference. So when you finish, even though the goal was to have been playing in the first BCS national championship, and I think that '98 team was good enough, we still finished off the season strong, and that's right. What we were hoping for this year. But Michelle, before we wrap it up, just tell us: have you really been into Ohio State football in the Ryan Day era? You're kind of a more casual to moderate fan. You're not like us. You're not like where you keep up with all kinds of things. But have you been kind of a little bit more detached?
Yes, I was a big enough fan that when they played their last in 2014, their last national championship game, at least that they won, I remember pacing around my house like could barely sit. But no, really, since Urban left, I just haven't really cared as much. And then, of course, we had the COVID time, which kind of killed my care even less.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I mean, I was with you at the first game of the season, and I just kind of my eyes even saw this isn't going to cut it for a team.
Yeah.
But pretty much someone at me who played basketball into college, it's just very obvious to me. Ryan Day, he probably does a lot of things right, but you can't have a coach, and particularly a football coach, who doesn't ever seem to get fired up.
Yeah.
Like the man just is not inspiring.
No.
And that is a huge aspect about being a good college football coach. Like
But-
you've got to inspire people.
But Rage, he gets in the middle of the huddle and he's cool with those guys and he jumps around and he dances and he has a good time because it's about the summer of love, the brotherhood of love, Jay.
Ryan Day is a bitch. I don't know what else to say. He's no good. He sucks. I mean, he is kind of soft, but I mean, he's just. I mean, I can get into the analytics later, but I agree with both of you. He's just he's not a guy who looks like he's not the dude who's going to be at the what is the word I'm looking for? The vanguard.
Mm-hmm.
He's not one of those people that's just going to lead you into battle. Like
No,
he's not that guy.
Well, and that's kind of like the last things I'll say on here and leave it to the two guys. Pretty much the team only goes as far as their leader for the most part, and these teams that I've seen just don't seem to have any edge to them, and that just doesn't cut it. And that doesn't really cut it in the NBA, let alone in football.
Yeah.
Any sport.
Yes,
you got to have it in every sport.
Yes, like you really have to have like that edge. And I think he's just kind of the cool, calm, collected coach. And like that's great to have on the sideline, but like you've got to have someone, whether it's an Urban, whether it's a Saban, that they're not afraid to choose some people out and they're going to inspire, and they're also going to inspire people. They're gonna get an edge, that's for sure. But I don't really foresee Day winning any championship. That's my prediction.
Well, Michelle, I
No.
appreciate you being on. I appreciate you letting us use your Force of Light studio here for me to film on my end. And we're going to get on with the episode. So thanks for being with us.
Yes, thanks.
Thank
Nice
you.
to see you. Well, nice to talk with you. And you guys have an awesome rest of your chat.
All right. And we are back and ready to go. Jay, Mr. Rage, I know you have plenty of thoughts that you want to get into. And just tell me where you want to start. I mean, like I said, this is a therapy session for Buckeye fans that have seen the truth, the unfortunate, hard truth. That's what this is. And so welcome in. There's more of you. Unfortunately, waking up to that hard, difficult truth that this program's not going in the right direction. So, Jay, I mean, just kick us off. Wherever you want to start, there's plenty to talk about.
My only thing is, Michael, and I want to apologize to everyone first and foremost. I'm not in my usual spot filming this. I'm actually moving into a new house currently, so I don't have my studio or anything set up. So I'm sorry that the picture is off. I'm sorry there might be background noises. I'm kind of like in a living room area away from everyone filming this right now. But Michael, I got to be honest with you, man. I don't know where you start with something like this. This was I mean, I was talking to my dad specifically. It was one of the few games I got to watch with my dad this year, and he's been a fan, for like 50 years, and he says that one might have been the worst performance he's ever seen. Like,
Yeah.
how do you break something like that down? How does that happen? How do you only score 3 points against an average defense? How do you how do you get bulldozed in the fourth quarter against their offense on defense? How is special teams such a disaster? And
Yeah.
the biggest number one reason is it's Ryan Day. He's terrible. I mean, I'm going to make this very clear, and we're not fooling anybody when we get into this, but this is the only podcast that was critical of Ryan Day all year. We've called him for how we saw him. We've made it very clear we did not think he was a good head coach, and we actually made it clear that he was below average. Well, I'm not even sure he's below average. He's terrible, Michael. He's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, there's so much to get into. Last night is not about it being a third string quarterback. Okay, so if that's the narrative that you're getting fed, then come listen to what we have to say, because there's more to the story than that. And so we're making the case, through this therapeutic medium, as to why Ryan Day is not the guy, and as to why it's time, the quicker the better, to move on, so that this program can begin to hopefully turn the right direction. And some would say, well, if you get a new coach, what if it doesn't work out? Well, it's not working out now. And it's just getting worse, progressively worse. And so where are you going to go? Are you just going to hang on to being a top 6 to 8 type program until you become a more of a 10 to 12 type program? Is that how long it's going to take before you make the change? Because the slip is happening, and it's happening for a lot of reasons. And last night is not about a third string freshman quarterback. Last night is about the game plan, the adjustments or lack thereof, and just the poor coaching across almost every aspect of the game that was displayed by Ryan Day and his staff. And so, Jay, you crank us off with what part of last night's game you want to start with to, kind of just get into the things that went wrong last night in that debacle that we watched.
First and foremost, I just want to say that let's start out with this with the quarterbacks. This is the only podcast that said we weren't encouraged by what we saw in game from Devin Brown. And you know which podcasts these are, trying to hype up Devin Brown. Whatever, like the podcasts that are more mainstream, commercialized podcasts, filling you with bullshit, how he's tearing up in bowl practice or fall camp, made you believe this guy was actually better than Kyle McCord. Like, what the heck? What are these guys watching? Like, we saw this guy for a half against YSU. He's also injury prone. So we'll start off with the quarterback position, because let's be real. The quarterback development by Ryan Day, I think we're going to have to start questioning that. Is he overrated as a quarterback developer? Because how does this guy have 2 quarterbacks on the roster who were going back and forth, supposedly? I don't really think they were. I think it was Kyle McCord's job all year. But Kyle McCord was very average. But then you have a guy in Devin Brown who sucks, and neither one are ready. And he's supposedly the best QB developer in the country. So that's my first topic point here, is the lack of quarterback development. And I mean, Devin Brown looked bad. Lincoln Kindholtz, I guess we understand it. He was a true freshman. He looked worse. So that's where I can start off there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, I mean, we didn't get to see a lot out of Brown before he got hurt. I mean, he was 4 of 6 for 20 yards, had made one really ugly pass, but I mean, he was 4 of 6, and it was clear that Dave was trying to gain him confidence and getting him some short completions. And so that was good, I guess. I mean, nothing wrong with that, I guess, trying to start that way. But, then he's hurt and he's out. And, how good would it have looked with Devin Brown? I don't know. We'll never know. I mean, we won't know. I mean, that's a question we can't answer. But I think we can answer that he's not a great athlete. He has a little bit of escapability, as he showed early in the game. Like the first drive, they blitzed him straight up the middle, and he reversed out and escaped. He ended up not completing the pass, but he did show a level of escapability that Kyle McCord did not have. So, but he's certainly not a tremendous athlete by any means.
No, yeah, I mean, especially after he hurt his ankle too. I mean, but even before then, he wasn't a very good athlete. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why he was advertised as a dual threat quarterback, but I guess if you really, really paid close attention to what people in the actual know, and there are very, very, very far few in between of people that actually really know what's going on. But
Mhm.
um, they made it clear that he's just a little bit more mobile than Kyle, and that's not saying much there.
Yeah.
So I
Well, I
mean,
mean, he was listed as a passing quarterback, as a pocket passer. He wasn't. The 247 didn't consider him a dual threat, even though he does have some mobility in high school. At least that's what they showed on the screen last night. I didn't go back and check 247 to verify that. Is that the case? Wasn't he considered a pocket passer coming
yeah,
out?
yeah, he was. He
Mhm.
was considered a pocket passer.
Yeah,
I think whatever top 5 ranked pocket passer. So yeah,
yeah.
that was a good point you make there. And Michael, let's get into a point that you were texting me about yesterday, and this kind of falls under the same branch here. Um, which is the offensive line and play calling. So the offensive line, as we all know, is terrible. We've said it over and over again. Justin Fry needs fired too. But I
Mhm.
mean, Justin Fry at this point is kind of irrelevant. He would just be a band-aid at, like tearing off, like like just ripping off the band-aid of a gaping wound. Like
Yeah.
Ryan Day's the problem here. And
Right.
nothing's ever going to change until he is gone. But
Yep.
as bad as the offensive line was, they cannot be directed with all of the blame. They were put in some terrible spots, Michael.
Mhm.
Like, here's the thing. Football is like simple math when it comes to offense. Like,
Mhm.
if you have so many guys lined up in the box, you're not supposed to run where they're at, right?
Mhm.
Isn't that I feel like football is a pretty
Right.
simple game. Run where they're not. If they have so many guys lined up over here, it might not be best to go over there. Go where you outnumber them. So,
Jay,
yeah.
on that, I don't know if you noticed this. I mean, I noticed it in live time. I know that we don't ever run the read option. I understand that we don't do that now, even though we show that look continually. But last night, when he was trying to continually run the wide, kind of stretch type play, or even just the off tackle type play to the short side of the field. He kept trying to do that, and it would be wide, and they would hand it off to Trey,
Yeah.
and the entire defense would be flowing that way. And
Mhm.
if the quarterback just simply does a backside keep, it's like 25 yards, and we never do it.
Mhm.
I mean, and this offensive genius. Are you kidding me? Like, not even close. If he ever was, and maybe Kevin Wilson literally was the offensive genius, and somehow Ryan Day rode his coattails into being the head coach at Ohio State. Because what I'm seeing out there is it's hard to describe how bad football coaching that was that we saw last night.
There are no words to describe it, Michael. There are no words, and I'm still kind of flabbergasted. And it's depressing, it's upsetting, and I'm still trying to recover from this. Like I have a headache today, everyone. This is, I was talking. I made mention to this to all my family that are all downstairs right now. I was like, I woke up. I didn't go to bed until like 1 in the morning, but I woke up at like 3:30 or 4.
Mhm.
Just I don't know, probably because I couldn't sleep very well.
Yeah.
And who could sleep very well after that? And I woke up for a moment and I was like, did that actually happen? Was that a
Yeah.
dream? Was that a
Yeah.
nightmare? Like, I feel like that's like a level of hell. Like, am I in hell right now? Like, seriously, like that was I mean, it was so bad that I thought that, like, no fan should be treated to that kind of display of whatever that was because it wasn't football.
The last time that I felt kind of um, that bad, that bad of a feeling after a game was just for me personal. I'm not saying anybody else has to feel this way, but
Hmm.
personally, the game to Florida in
Yeah, I was
2006
gonna say the
is
same.
about the
Yep.
last time that I
Hmm.
felt quite like this. And some people might say, like, how, what are you talking about? That was a national championship game. This was a cotton bowl that, you were playing your third string quarterback. Well, because that was a game that I was going into that I really felt that we were going to win. I thought we were going to win that night against Florida. I felt good about it. Like, I felt like, yeah, I think Florida's a tough team, but I really think that we're the better team. And then the 42-14 shellacking, and then this, I really felt I was very confident. I was like, you know what? I think we're going to win this game. I think we're going to be the more imposing, talented team, and we're going to win this game. And boy, I mean,
Yeah, I
just
know, Michael. I know. And it's again, it's hard to, like we would think like it would be easy to come up for content for a game like that, but it's actually really hard because it was so beyond anything that any of us could have imagined.
mhm,
Like I said, football is simple math on offense, and Missouri blitzed every play damn near. Had 88 guys in the box 80% of the time. You're not supposed to be running the ball based on numbers when that happens. Like, why
right.
did they keep trying to pound Travion, who I feel terrible for? And he had a pretty solid game, but like, it's hard to have a really good game when Missouri's just blitzing like they have no care in the world, just blitzing. I mean, sometimes I feel like they were bringing 9 guys. I could be wrong, and I haven't really
Yeah.
looked at the film like that, but at the
I
same time,
mean, I
yeah.
think, Jay, the only thing I can figure is, if you go back, and I haven't been able to go back and actually watch the game, but if you go back
Oh, who
and
does? I don't wanna watch that shit.
well, I know, but I just mean as far as making the most educated statements I can, because I'm just going off memory. But going back to the beginning of that game before Brown got hurt, we were hitting some periods where we were running the ball pretty well. Now, I don't know why he hadn't already mixed in some play action for Brown by that point. I think we could have,
Yeah.
but he didn't. But point being, maybe that was his thinking that, oh, well, we were running the ball pretty good. And now that Kindholtz is in, we're going to, just depend on this running game and try and wear him down. But then and there's actually probably, Jay, nothing wrong with that thinking. There's nothing wrong with that thinking in my mind, at least given that a shot for a little while. But when you go that route and then you immediately begin to see that with this freshman quarterback in there, they're just sending seven guys every time on second and medium, just like you said in the previous show. Really, is if it was 2nd and 7 or 3rd and 7, they were sending 7 guys every time. No questions
Oh,
asked
yeah.
about it.
Oh, I mean,
And
yeah. I mean, it was clear
and
on
we were
film what they were gonna do.
and we were blocking 6 almost every time. I mean, how can you call yourself a college football coach when you let your freshman quarterback have a free guy tee off on him literally every time he's in a passing down, and you don't even make an adjustment that you could try to make to give him a little bit better of a chance? It's like you don't even bother. You don't even bother to bring a tight end over to block that guy
No,
that's
they
teeing
they
off on your
basically
freshman
had
quarterback
5
every
guys
time.
trying to block 7 the entire game. I mean, yeah, the offensive line really did suck at times for sure, but again, they were done no favors. You can't expect any offensive line in the country to be able to block 6 or 7 guys when they only have 5 blockers. It's just not possible. It's not. Though the few passing plays Ohio State did have where they were successful, again, there's like I maybe count on like one hand, was when they actually threw on first down, and I was yelling, "You're gonna have to throw on first down because Missouri's stacking the box," and they had success there. And the other time is when they actually went max protect like once in like the fourth quarter. They actually had like 7 guys blocking, and it worked. They were able to block them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just honestly, Michael, I'm getting sick of this team so much that it makes me doubt even if I want to do this podcast anymore.
Well,
It's no fun covering a team, and all they do is fail and underachieve. It's a lame
yeah.
duck coach in Ryan Day and a lame duck athletic director in Gene Smith. Um, it's terrible, and it's not going to change anytime soon. Ryan Day's going to be here next year
Mhm.
because Gene Smith isn't gone until the summer, even though I think Gene Smith should have been fired a long time ago.
Yep. Jay, one thing we have next year is an extremely easy schedule, and so that could camouflage some of Ryan Day's inadequacies even a little bit longer. And that's a concern of mine, to be quite honest
Yeah,
with you.
well, yeah. I wish we played tougher teams because let's be real here. Looking at these bowl games right now, I have currently Maryland. Maryland is blowing out Auburn. Great for them. That's great for the Big Ten. But Ohio State losing, Penn State getting blown out by Ole Miss. They eventually lost by like 2 touchdowns, but Ole Miss was up by more. But that is a really, really, really bad look. And the Big Ten wasn't very good this year. I know they've had a decent bowl season so far, but against the SEC, we're not doing so well.
Yeah, no, Jay, we're really only doing, I mean, our record's okay. Thank God for the underlings of the conference to win their games, Rutgers, Northwestern, and Minnesota,
Mhm.
because it at least gives us a chance at a respectable bowl record. But we're not winning the games that really matter the most. I mean, we're
No.
you know, and so, but Jay, here's the schedule next year.
Okay, let me hear it.
We got the Akron Zips, Western Michigan Broncos, Marshall, Michigan State, at Michigan State, Iowa, at Oregon. That's a tough one. Finally a tough one.
Another team that doesn't win big games, by the way, and they haven't beaten the SEC. So yeah, Oregon's good, but
Yeah.
they don't win big. Not when
No,
except against
no,
Ohio State. Except
yeah.
against Ohio State. But does that really count anymore? It's not like beating Ohio State's all that big of an accomplishment anymore, and
Yeah,
I've made that
and up
clear.
until Ryan Day, I think we were 7 or 8-0 or 9-0 against Oregon as a school. So Nebraska, at Penn State, Purdue, at Northwestern, Indiana, and Michigan. So, I mean, I could definitely see, even though that's not a tough schedule, I could
Yeah.
definitely see Ryan Day losing 2 games on that schedule next year.
I mean, yeah, but I mean the Big Ten's not very good, and I made this clear is like we don't know who's coming back, and I've kind of said this, and I haven't said this here yet, but a lot of these guys that were on the fence about coming back or going to the NFL, I
Mhm.
honestly hope they all leave because they're being failed by Ryan Day with their development and the success and the lack of success in big games. Like honestly, the people that aren't eligible for the NFL, I would all transfer. I honestly hope they would all transfer because they would expedite this process of getting Ryan Day out faster. Maybe he gets fired in the springtime if that happens. But like if Tui Malau leaves, Jack Sawyer leaves, Tyleek Williams he leaves, Travion leaves,
Mhm.
Buka leaves, and not even to the NFL, but just the transfer portal. It would send a message that the culture is broken. Kenyatta Jackson liked the post last night about Jamison Williams posting about the loss. Like Jamison Williams was celebrating Ohio State losing, and Kenyatta Jackson liked the post.
Wow. You're kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding you. That actually happened.
I mean, it's this is late stage Cooper rot, and it's just that it's taking place without the program's record collapsing, and there's various reasons for that, but the culture is very much like John Cooper in the sense that there's never going to be enough strength on a Ryan Day team to endure making a run and winning a national championship. There's not going to be the fortitude. I don't know what it is. I don't totally fully know how to describe it. All I know is that some coaches have it and some coaches don't. And beyond the X's and O's, which for Ryan Day are becoming more and more questionable, he just doesn't have the personality, the leadership, and the overall head coach type of qualities to lead Ohio State to the promised land. It's at best going to kind of settle down in this next tier of being like a fifth through eighth best team, and at worst, it could start to start to drop quickly. The ship could really begin to sink. It's in a very fragile place right now.
Absolutely. And again, this is all rumor mill, hearsay, anecdotal. But I was also going to mention of that former players with Ohio State are supposedly not welcome as much around the program. I'm sure there are some guys because Bobby Carpenter is like a pseudo media member Like, I mean, not pseudo. He does work for Sirius XM, so I guess he is a media member. I know he's around the program, but a lot of former players really aren't supposedly around the program watching practice like they were under Tressel and Urban. Like Ryan Day doesn't do that, and you know who else also didn't, or I guess did not do that?
Who?
Michael? John Cooper. John Cooper didn't have former players around the program either.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's a conundrum at Ohio State. It works better when you can find a good coach with Ohio ties that understands Ohio. Because when you don't understand Ohio, it makes it difficult to coach at Ohio State. And we find this out over and over. Well, not really, because we don't ever hire guys outside of Ohio besides Day and Cooper. But this is the second time that we've tried this experiment, and this is the second time that, in different ways, it's ended up looking very similar. And I think there's that insecurity that Ryan Day has. He's a very insecure man. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And so an insecure man doesn't want players that played under Urban and Tressel coming in, because he knows, I believe, that when players that played under Urban and Tressel come in, they're going to go, like, doesn't seem like it, when we were here. And so he doesn't want him in there. He doesn't want the comparisons. He doesn't want that. He's fighting badly this soft label that has been put on him. And he tries to fight it, in very strange ways. And it's clear that, like, it is completely psychologically, it's in his mind, and it's impacting his decision making, his coaching, and I almost just think we see the guy kind of melting down right in front of us. I hope not, but I think he's just not at a place where I think he has what it takes to move things forward.
No, absolutely not. He's destroying the program from the inside. I think he's just a cancerous individual, and I'm not going to mix my words. I think he's a cancerous individual. He's a little soft. He coaches like a bitch in big games, especially. But in general, he coaches kind of like a bitch. His play calling, I think he's just a bad. I don't even know if the guy's very smart. He speaks intelligent in front of like the media. But, like, look at a lot of politicians, they speak well in front of the media, and they don't know jack shit about,
Yeah.
like, basic policy and stuff. I mean, the same could be said for Ryan Day. Maybe he's scripting a lot of these, press conference quotes or whatever he's
Yeah.
saying to the media. I mean, this is and I'm not like, this isn't, like, me, like, just making this up. I really do suspect this. Because his actions on the field does not warrant anyone believing that he's intelligent. He coaches some of the dumbest football I have ever seen, ever.
And Jay, in spite of that being evident, like, to people with eyes, it's almost like it's not allowed to be said, because he has, like, so the Ohio State media has so coddled Ryan Day.
Why though?
And
What has he done or
well,
deserved
hold
to
on,
get
but
this?
think about this. Gene Smith has coddled Ryan Day. I mean, I remember last year, when we got beat by Michigan at home, the press conference, Gene Smith is in there sitting with Day, sitting next to him. And I thought that was kind of like a little bit odd. Like, well, why is Gene sitting there? He's not going to answer questions. He's just sitting there next to Ryan, like it's his, and so afterwards, Gene said he just needed to be there in the press conference to show his coach support that he knew he needed. What? Like, did the AD like come and put his arm around Earl Bruce when he got beat by Michigan? Did the AD come and pat John Cooper on the back when he got beat by Michigan? I mean, what is going on around there?
I would never want Gene Smith by my side in any way. He's a two-faced piece of shit.
He's only going to be by your side when it's convenient for him.
Exactly.
I mean, he's shown that in many cases that there's no point in getting into, but it's time for Gene to go. Boy, this is an important athletic director hire, Jay.
Absolutely. I think the athletic director hire is bigger than the football coach hire, because you need a competent athletic director to make that football coach hire. You're absolutely correct. I
Yeah.
could not agree more.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, I don't know. I don't know jack shit about athletic directors and who's good and who's not. I'd be lying to you if I said I did.
I'm going to
Um,
start looking into it.
I know the only name that comes to mind is like the one dude is from that's at UCLA now, but he has Ohio ties, but he's not from Ohio. And then Pat
Mhm.
John from Washington State is a former Ohio State. Like he went to school at Ohio State or something, worked there. One of the two.
Okay.
He's from Ohio and all that.
Okay.
Now he's the athletic director there. Um, but now let's get into the defense a little bit. It's hard to criticize the defense because Missouri's offense is good, and we did make it clear going into this game though that Missouri's not the type of offense that gives Ohio State problems. Like we made that clear in the last
Yeah.
podcast. They're more spread based and
Mhm.
all of that. But I will say once they started going more power in the fourth quarter, they were starting to get after Ohio State. And yeah, but individually, let's get in some individual players that were, well, number one, good. Jack Sawyer played his best game of his career. He was a beast. Nothing else can be said there. There is a little bit of positive, and Jack Sawyer was a monster. But one player I want to highlight a little bit because there are everybody always seems to call him like a unicorn football player, Michael, and that's Alex Sonny Styles.
Mhm.
That dude sucks. He sucks at football. At least in the position they have him in, because right now he looks slow and not quick in space. And maybe he should be playing linebacker, but maybe he should
Yeah.
also be a defensive end. But he's over. I don't know. He's overrated.
Yeah.
It does
One.
happen every now and then with 5 stars where they're overrated. He's definitely one of them. I just
Well,
don't know where you put him.
I think you nailed it, Jay. I think you got to go to him and get him, on a bulk diet program and get him weightlifting and get another 15 pounds on him and try him at linebacker next to Cody Simon next year because he's already got the experience. He's got decent football instincts. I mean, he's got some football instincts, unlike
Mhm.
unlike Hicks. That I mean, man, I was disappointed what I
Man,
saw from.
CJ Hicks looked bad too. And these are like two
Um,
5 stars that we were thinking are going to be like the second coming of something. But
yeah,
wow.
I mean, I was just really disappointed in what I
Both
saw.
got blown by Brady Cook. Brady Cook's not that good either. He can run pretty decent, but he's not that great. He's not Jaden Daniels out there.
Jay, you're gonna have if you're gonna get anything out of CJ Hicks, you're gonna have to put him on the edge and just rush him off the edge some. Just use him as like a speed rusher. That's gonna be the only thing that he's gonna be able to do. And I know he's small, but if he's fast enough, maybe he could, you could put him in there and let him go at it 15, 20 snaps a game in passing situations because he has no football
Mhm.
instinct at all.
No, he really doesn't. I mean, again, maybe you could put him in pass rushing situations, but what have we seen that he's a pass rusher? We don't have any evidence that he can do that.
Well, I don't. I'm just saying that's the only thing that I mean, he's not going to
Yeah.
play linebacker from what I've seen.
Mhm.
So you've got to try to find somewhere to utilize his athleticism. Maybe that might be a spot to give him a shot. I'm just saying, a suggestion, not necessarily that it would work because it
Yeah.
just, you know. But yeah, I think Styles could maybe come up and play linebacker. That's what I would do is try to put
Mhm.
15 pounds on him and put him next to Simon next year.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, probably. I mean, that's probably where he's going to have to go because he's probably as bad as Alex Styles as he's probably better than CJ Hicks. I mean, CJ
Mhm.
Hicks looked really bad yesterday.
Yeah.
So did Davison Igbinosun in coverage. He didn't look too great either. Again, we kind of pointed out he was like the fish in coverage for this defense.
Mhm.
And he got beat a few times yesterday. Did you see that?
Don't you think Jermaine Matthews is better than him?
I've said Jermaine Matthews is much better than him. I saw him in lockdown coverage yesterday. I don't know who he was spelling, but he looked amazing in the little bit he was in there. I don't know why he didn't continue playing, but in the little bit I saw, like Brady Cook scrambled and Jermaine Matthews still locked down whoever he was on.
Do they just think that Matthews can't, guard the same type of guys that Igminosa, since Igminosa's got the height? I know he's 6'1" or 2", and Matthews is only about 5'10". So do they try and, just not match up Matthews on the longer receivers or what? I don't know. Maybe
I
maybe
don't
that's
know.
you know.
Matthews is a legit 5'11" because when the team did the team walk back for Penn State, I shook his hand, and he's
Okay.
an inch taller than me, I would say,
Okay.
because I'm 5'10",
Okay.
He's got to be probably like 5'11", which is solid size for a
Yeah,
corner.
absolutely. I
But
mean,
you know, Knowles
six
did
one
make
is
a
so
point.
tall for a corner.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Knowles did make a stupid comment, said Jermaine Matthews only plays outside or something. He doesn't want to play him in the nickel. When I remember that Cam Martinez was getting beat earlier in the year, and it's like,
Yeah,
well, why don't you put Jermaine Matthews in at the freaking slot?
exactly. Exactly.
Stupid. Just so stupid, man. These coaches are paid millions of dollars for just dog shit decisions.
Um, but I want to reemphasize, last night the lack of offensive adjustments was it was extremely poor. I mean, it's hard to put into words how poor it was. He didn't make adjustments and he didn't give his offense any opportunity to succeed. And it was just another epic failure by Ryan Day. It was another black eye to the program. And there's just not a whole lot of positive you can take out of it. I wish that we could take something positive out of it, but there's just not a lot, Jay.
Not at all. No, I mean, what can you take? Jack Sawyer is really it. Jack Sawyer is really it because we
Played a
haven't even
great
gotten.
game. Yeah, he played a really nice game.
I think Travion played as well as he could against an 8-9 man box.
But yeah, I mean, once they started loading the box, there wasn't much he could do.
Let's get into the topic that I know you're excited about, Michael, and that's
Mhm.
Parker Fleming and the special teams.
Yeah. I mean, um, you can't make it up, Jay. You couldn't make it up. I mean, every single game, there's a special teams gaff, and we have this, designated spot on our coaching staff, on a coaching staff that's devoid of talent and experience. We've got a designated spot where there's this young, inexperienced special teams coach named Parker Flemings, who's paid to do nothing but the special teams. And our special teams are so awful. It's, I mean, can you ever remember Ohio State special teams being to where they're so bad, so bland, so boring that nothing good is ever going to happen out of the special teams. And you're just waiting to see how many goof ups or mistakes they make. I mean, that's the truth. When's the last time we saw a punt ran back? When's the last time we saw a kickoff run back? When's the last time we saw a punt, blocked or a field goal blocked or any kind of spark out of the special teams that gives a little injection of life into the team or even helps the team in any way? I mean, it's just not there.
Yeah. And how many times? Again, I'm not even. I mean, what you're asking for is like kind of the extraordinary special teams plays. But what about like the mundane, like common sense special teams plays? Like, how many fucking times is Jaden Ballard going to field a punt inside the 10? How many fucking times is he going to do that? You're taught as a special teams punt returner, I think. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe he's not taught this, but you plant your heels at the 10-yard line. If it goes behind you, you let it go. You don't back up and catch the fucking ball inside the 10, you dumb fucking bitch. Like, what are you doing? That was the stupidest shit ever. And now we get into Jaden Ballard. Man, he is a soft ass pussy and fucking like they threw that one jump ball up to him and he couldn't come down with it against like a 5'11 corner. No fucking wonder he doesn't play. I thought Massillon football was supposed to be tough and stuff and breed like the tough, like, hard-nosed football players, but he is the one of the softest bitches I've ever seen in an Ohio State uniform.
Keenholz did, even though he was kind of like falling off this way when he did it, and it was a little bit of a loop-de-loop. He put that ball right there for him to
Yeah,
catch it.
he didn't even really do a very good job against a 5'11 corner from Missouri. This
Yeah.
isn't LSU or freaking Alabama or let alone Georgia. This is fucking Missouri, man. But yeah, let's before we digress too far.
But Jay,
Special
that
teams
that
are a
could have been
disaster.
a game-changing play. So
Could have been.
if you don't trust Jaden Ballard, why was Carnell Tate? Why was Brandon Ennis? Why was even Xavier Johnson? Why was somebody else more dependable not running that route out there? If they catch that ball we may go down and score. That may change the course of the game.
I don't know, man. I mean, again, I don't know. They're probably, honestly, I hope Jaden Ballard transfers. I mean, I hope a lot of these guys leave the program and just, the team just falls on their face and fails next season. It'd be easier to get rid of Ryan Day because Ryan Day's never going to win. So you might as well have one bad year or whatever. But, continuing on with the special teams, our field goal kicker missed another kick in a big game,
Yep.
of course. Like,
Yep.
we said it, like, I said it, you kind of like went along with it. We didn't have a field goal kicker. We knew that after the Penn State game. Like, right when
Yep.
he missed a field goal against Penn State, I'm like, oh, we don't have a field goal kicker.
Yep.
And I don't care how many field goals you make under 40 yards against like Michigan State and Minnesota and Akron and teams like that. What are you doing against the good teams and the pressure kicks? Well,
Right.
that's how you're judged. And then again, speaking of next season, Michael, and I was just kind of saying that, but there's just no excitement at all going into next season. Like, none at all. Ryan Day sucks, but the quarterback position also sucks. And no, I know the rumors are Will Howard is going to transfer from Kansas State to Ohio State, but he is not the answer. He is a Band-Aid that is going to mask just a little bit of the quarterback position. But if you watch that guy closely, yeah, he can run well, not great, but well, but he really can't throw very well either. And that's not going to mask Ryan Day's play calling and his horrific play calling in big games. It doesn't matter who you have at quarterback.
Yep.
Ryan Day's play calling is always going to fail in the biggest moments, and the defense is going to give up big, long power drives to teams power running them in the fourth quarter. I'm sorry if like the light in here is not good, people. I'm going to try and improve this.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like Jim Knowles' defense really. I don't know. I mean, it was fine. I'm not going to blame this game on the defense. I mean, they did hold Missouri to 14 points. I mean, so any type of good football team. I know that circumstances being what they were, you're not going to expect more than 14 to 20 points or so, but. To score 3 was just unbelievable. So, I mean, the defense played good enough to win the game. But, yeah, I mean, as a whole, it can't stop the power run. It hasn't done it all year. And I don't know. I don't know. It's like I'm not sure how we're trying to build our defense. I haven't figured that out yet. It's almost like Jim Knowles has a picture of a defense that's so drastically different than what Ohio State has been in the past that they've kind of like partly done Knowles's vision, but partly kind of, made some modifications. And it's like the end result is I don't think anybody's happy. I mean, they say that Larry Johnson, had some, incohesiveness with the way Knowles wanted to use the jack position, and then Knowles ended up having to throw away the jack position, and now he claims he's totally changed his philosophy on defense. And so even though the defense is the bright point, I can't say that like I'm just super excited about the defense moving forward.
No, they're not aggressive enough. They're not aggressive enough, and I know they got pressure of 4 guys yesterday, but like. Look what Missouri was doing, man. Look what Missouri was doing on defense. Why doesn't Ohio State blitz half as much as Missouri does? Hell, the one time we did blitz, Jordan Hancock got a freaking sack.
Well, I think one of the other, going back to that again, and I know I'm harping on it, but like Jay, when you send 7 guys every time, pretty much every time that the team's going to be likely passing the ball, or even if they do run it, you're still plugging every gap. So, I mean, when you're sending 7 guys, it works really good until the offense makes like a couple of minor adjustments. And then you get hurt really bad as a defense by exposing yourself that much. But when the offense literally never adjusts, you can just keep sending the house and it works every time. It's like, the old Tecmo Bowl video game when you could just kind of do the all-out blitz and stuff the little runner. I mean, it's I don't know. I don't know if Ryan Day had given up or thrown in the towel, or if he's just truly that bad of a football coach. I don't know what to say about it, but it was it was one of the worst things I've watched as an Ohio State fan. It was embarrassing, and I can only hope, Jay, for brighter times to come. And I don't know how those are going to come. You and I are both firmly agreed that they're not going to come through Ryan Day. But, I'm just hoping that something works out there. I'm hoping that there's a really good football coach somewhere with Ohio ties, that the stars are going to align. And in the next year or two, we can find whoever that person is, even if it's an unknown like Jim Tressel. Who cares? Just somebody that can come in and be a good football coach again at Ohio State. I mean, it's just we're just poorly coached across the board.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I'm more upset about this game, way, way more than anything with Michigan. Way more. We broke this down. I think what was Missouri in the talent composite, Michael? I think they were like 26th,
26th.
and Ohio State was third.
Right.
That is so bad. That
Mhm.
is so fucking bad, Michael.
Mhm.
Like Missouri, Michigan is a good team. Michigan fans, I know you love our podcast because we keep it real, but you guys are a really good team. Missouri's not that fucking good. I
No.
didn't see anything from them that made me think they were really all that good. That quarterback is okay. That little white running back they have is like one of those try hard guys, but he's not going to play in the fucking NFL.
Yeah.
Luther Burden is a solid receiver, but he doesn't like strike me as somebody who's going to make a big difference in the NFL. He's only 5'11", and he's
Mhm.
not that fucking fast. Like Missouri just they were basically look like they were just plotting against a freaking middle school team, a middle
Yeah.
school offense. Like,
Yeah.
Michael, didn't you say it yesterday? You said this is like middle school football. Just send an extra linebacker every play, or what did
Yeah,
how did you
yeah,
phrase
yeah.
it?
I mean, like I've said before, I was a defensive coordinator for, a sixth grade team, and we played a team that ran the ball every play. We knew they were going to run the ball, and I sent 7 guys every play. Every gap was plugged, and
Hell yeah.
so we had a lot of success chopping ball, chopping plays down at the line of scrimmage doing that. But we never had to worry about them making an adjustment because we'd watched their film and like literally that's all they did. And Missouri was just able to send 7 guys, and Ryan Day never even made an adjustment. I mean, it's unbelievable, Jay.
I mean, it's not hard. It's not hard to prepare for a team that all they do is just run the ball. I mean, these Big Ten offenses are so behind. I mean, yeah, Ohio State's had some explosive offenses, but they didn't have one this season. And looking at, I mean, did you watch the Peach Bowl of Penn State and Ole Miss?
Mm.
You did.
Yeah, I did.
Like Jesus, like Penn State really couldn't throw the forward pass, man, and it makes
No.
it hard to prepare for
Yep.
when the Big Ten as a whole really has struggles like throwing the forward pass because when you
Yeah.
run into these SEC teams that can sling it around, you're in trouble. Not that Missouri really gave us problem with their passing game, but a good Big Ten is going to only make Ohio State better.
Well, Jay, in that regard, Oregon and USC and UCLA and Washington can't come fast enough to at least force the Big Ten into some type of adaptation and change. Because I mean, the Big Ten is fallen. It never caught up with the SEC, but it was way down. And after Urban Meyer got to the Big Ten and started recruiting the way he did, some of the Big Ten coaches kind of got on the ball, and for a little while things were kind of moving upward and getting better, and the gap was closing a bit. Never got there. We were still definitely below, but it was closing a bit. But in these recent years, it has been widening again, and part of it's like you said. I mean, there's several issues, but one of it is the offenses and just the schemes and the coaching in the Big Ten. And thank God that we're at least getting some new blood in that'll hopefully force some type of change and adapting.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, everything you say there, I agree with, but it's all based on hope, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't really see any reason to really hope and think anything's ever going to change with the Big Ten or Ohio State. I mean,
well,
actions speak louder than words.
I mean, I don't know what to say about Ohio State. Jay, I'm going to throw this out there as a dark horse, okay? And again, everybody, if you're still listening at this point, I want to be very clear. I'm throwing this out there as a dark horse. I'm not throwing this out there saying I want this to happen or that I'm calling for this to happen. But let's say, Jay, we find ourselves in a situation where Ryan Day has to go and there's no like immediate solution. You know, like your best option is like Luke Fickell. Okay. If that's the case, I think that you could at least take a look, and I've been kind of investigating the guy a little bit at Mark Stoops at
Mark Stoops
Kentucky.
is who I was going to say.
All right. So, here's the thing. I don't think he's a slam dunk, but if you remember back, and we've had this conversation before, if you remember back to John Cooper being fired, there was no definitive anybody that we were going to go out and get. Glenn Mason was actually kind of the favorite. And the big selling point with Glenn Mason was that he was able to get, develop his talent pretty good and coach up a Minnesota program to win 8-9 games a year. They were usually 9-3 or 8-4. They were usually somewhere right in there, maybe 7-5 occasionally. And so everybody thought, and he had Ohio ties, and everybody thought if he could do that at Minnesota, what could he do, with Ohio State's talent, Ohio State's resources? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So applying that same idea, Mark Stoops has gone to a bottom dweller in the SEC. The 2 years before he took over, or actually the year before Stoops took over, Kentucky was 2-10. So that's what Stoops took over.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it took him a little while to get going. His first year, he was 2-10. His second year, he was 5-7. His third year, he was 5-7. But then from his fourth year on, he has been delivering consistently 7, 8, and even 2 10-win seasons at the University of Kentucky, a historical SEC bottom dweller. And Jay, he started his first 2 years. He was 0-8 versus top 25 teams. When he played top 25 teams, his first 2 years at Kentucky, he was 0-8. The rest of his time at Kentucky, his last 9, he has been 15-17 against top 25 teams. And to me, that is relatively impressive at a place like Kentucky. I'm not saying it's slam dunk impressive, but he's a guy that I'm at least going to start investigating. It doesn't really matter if I investigate him or not, but I think he's somebody that should at least be on the radar somewhere.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, if you're going to fire Ryan Day, the first person I look at is Mark Stoops because, as you said, he's had success at Kentucky. He's won his rivalry game against Louisville lately. He's from Ohio. He would crawl to Ohio State over like hot burning coal, like from like already like just like let's say a volcano and magma or across the land. Like he would like walk and crawl over that to get to Ohio State and leave Lexington, in my opinion, because his roots are in Ohio. And I'm not saying that he would be a savior by any source, but he would be better than Fickell for one, because I don't think Fickell's any good. He
No.
would be better than Ryan Day. Would he win a championship at Ohio State? I don't know, but at least he would understand what it takes to be a coach at Ohio State. So that's really all I can say.
He comes from a football family. His brother obviously has won a national championship. He won a national championship as a position coach at the University of Miami in 2002. He obviously lost a national championship also at University of Miami in 2003, but he also recruited, developed, and primed that Florida State defense that won the national championship in 2013. Now, he had already moved on to accept the Kentucky position in 2013, but he had recruited that defense between 2010, 2011, and 2012 while he was the defensive coordinator there. And then he moved on to Kentucky in 13. And in 13, Florida State won the national championship. So he was part of that rebuild as well. So he's a guy that has experience improving the places that he goes to. And Ryan Day has not improved Ohio State. And I know that there wasn't like a whole lot of opportunity, like it was a small window to really have improved a whole lot upon Urban. I mean, the only thing to improve upon Urban is really you could have won 2 national championships in 7 years instead of just one. But he hasn't done it, and obviously we know he didn't even match Urban. He's not beating Michigan. He hasn't won a national championship. He just is accomplishing less and less the more the program becomes his. His staff is terrible. We've been over that. He has to make staff changes, but the staff changes, like we've already said, they're Ryan Day's the problem. Until Ryan Day goes, things at Ohio State are not going to dramatically improve. And I don't believe that, we're going to be able to ultimately achieve what we'd all like to see. And that's Ohio State win another national championship at some point in the near future. I just don't think that's going to happen under Ryan Day.
No, hell no. No, it's not. I mean, so along those lines, I already told my dad I believe it's a waste of money to pay for season tickets for next season when you can buy the tickets the day of the game for cheaper. But however, now there is no point in supporting this program. Like, they don't win the big games and they feast on a weak, slow Big Ten led by a lame duck coach and a lame duck athletic director. There is just no return on investment with this team at this point in time. And do not fucking call me a fair weather fan either, you mindless fucks across the internet. That is the farthest from the truth. You can still be a fan of a team, but not support them financially. Like, they don't deserve any of my money. What are they doing for me to, like, you know, warrant my money going to them or anybody's money? It's a bad product. Is it a bad product overall, comparative across the college football universe? Of course it's not. But it is a terrible product by Ohio State standards. And
Yeah.
if you're not at Ohio State standards, then what in the fuck are we doing? What are we even playing football for? Like, what is the goal here?
I don't know. The goal certainly his I don't think the goals are achievable at this point with this administration. So, all we can
No.
really hope for is a good athletic director and a speedy exit of Ryan Day, because that's what it's going to take. That's my position. That's where we're at. I have really felt that. In my opinion, Jay, this has been my opinion since the Orange Bowl of 2019, when the Clemson game was over. I just said, I don't think this guy has it. I really don't. And it wasn't anything particularly just about that game. I just had observed him that season, and it was my conclusion at that point. I said, I don't think the guy has it. And, you and I have been having this conversation for, well over a year. And so, but this, I believe that, but I thought, well, maybe I'm missing something. I didn't believe it enough to just publicly say it, because I was like, it was my thought, and my thoughts are very well posted on Bucknuts, as are others, and maybe yours as well, Jay. I don't know if you post there or not, but my thoughts have been well documented. But now I definitively feel 100% conviction to say he has to be fired. That is the only way that things are going to get better.
He needs to be fired, and we need to find a competent athletic director that isn't totally sold himself to being like, what is that? What is the cup called for basically all of the college sports put together? And what is that called? The Director's Cup or something? What the hell is
The
that
Director's
called? Yeah, the Director's Cup. We need an athletic director that puts the freaking money where in the money-making sports,
Yeah.
and that's football, men's basketball, maybe baseball. If the baseball program ever got turned around, they would make money, and that's really it, man. I think men's wrestling too. That's it. Like, those are the sports that really matter, and those are the sports that people care about. Those are the only sports people care about outside of the parents of those
Yep.
teams, and yeah, Gene Smith, Ryan Day, they're clowns. They're clowns, and they're destroying our football program.
Jay, you cannot attack a national championship without everything out there. You can't leave anything back. You can't, pull any punches. And there are a lot of ways that Ohio State spends money right up there with the best of them. The coaching staff is highly paid and all of that. But there's also things such as recruiting budgets and things like that, where Ohio State is not even in the top 5 in the country.
Which
And
is
it's,
so fucking odd
yeah,
considering our geography.
yeah, which is absurd that Ohio State would not have a top 5 recruiting budget. I mean,
That's Gene
you,
Smith. Oh yeah, that's Gene Smith too.
you have to do everything it takes because you are at a I'm going to say you're at a mild geographical disadvantage. And the reason I say mild, Jay, is because when Ohio State is at its best, it's not just pulling the best Ohio kids. It has a very, very good chance of pulling some of the best kids out of Indiana, out of Pennsylvania, out of Illinois, out of Maryland, out of some other, states across the Midwest region, and plucking some kids out of the South. So that's why I say it's at a mild, geographical disadvantage, but when you have any disadvantage, you have to overcome that. You can't hold back in certain areas, and that's what they do. They don't go all in with the football program the way that the University of Alabama does, the way that the University of Georgia does. They don't go all in on the football program. We build hockey rinks. We build new hockey rinks.
Isn't it women's ice hockey they built a rink for?
Yeah, we're building a new hockey rink for, I guess maybe men's ice hockey too, but I mean, I think it's going to be like a $25-30 million hockey rink, Jay. It's not like a small deal.
Well, that's Gene Smith for you. I mean, I was listening to his
It might be a $50 million rink. It's quite a bit.
Yeah, well, that's Gene Smith and his equity socialistic governing style as the athletic director. I mean, he says it clear as day. Equality and equity on 97.1 The Fan. He says it right there out in front of everyone. So we know what his agenda is. So what is it, equity? It's tearing down from something that is strong to give to something that is weak, and that's not the way to prosper in a capitalistic society. It is not.
Yeah, I mean, not that it's a little bit off of our main topic, but I mean, equality is great. Everything, people should have equal opportunity. Equality is great, but equity is when you're getting something that's not yours. You don't deserve somebody else's equity. Like,
No,
you don't deserve what somebody else has done.
no.
That's nonsense. And but anyhow,
That's no, that's a
yeah,
big reason why Ohio State's failed.
yeah. I mean, it just we got to go all in on the football program, and part of going all in is starting to make your plan for who is going to replace Ryan Day. I know they're not going to do it this year, and I can only hope that they're going to do it next year. But I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say.
There's nothing else to say, Michael. And before we get out of here, I mean, we're winding this down now, but I just want to recap it. Is I'm not blaming on any other position coaches anymore. I'm not getting on Justin Fry or Parker Fleming or Jim Knowles anymore. Ryan Day's the problem. He's got to be fired. And we're gonna keep pounding that drum. Like, we try to give him the benefit of the doubt. We were the most critical of him before the season. During the season as well. We never really called for him to be fired until after the Michigan game, but even then it was kind of like a soft blow of like saying he should be fired. But now, like, we're all in. He needs to go. He's cancerous. He's destructive. He sucks. He's soft. He's a bitch. He's not. He doesn't seem like he's really all that nice of a guy. He's not welcoming to former players. He sucks, man. He sucks in every way imaginable. And I don't think he's intelligent either. I think he's like partially dumb. I really do think he's a dumb guy because his actions on the field, just they tell the story right there. The actions, the way he coaches games on the field, leads me to believe he's pretty fucking dumb.
I think he operates out of fear, Jay. I think he operates out of fear,
and he's a soft bitch. Yeah, like I said, soft bitch.
I think he operates out of fear, and I think that he is just not the kind of guy that can step up in the big moments. He clenches up and tightens up, and that bleeds off onto his team. And so, hopefully there will be brighter days ahead. I'm looking forward to who the next coach will be. That's where I have to go in my mind, Jay, to cope with Ohio State football right now. Is just who's the next guy going to be? Can we get some tough, hard-nosed football back in Columbus? Can we get a product out on the field that you're proud of? And yeah, I think the answer to that is absolutely yes. I think that guy is out there to come in and fill that head coaching spot and bring something back to Columbus, to Ohio, to be proud of. I do believe that guy is out there. I do believe this program has all of the things needed for that to happen. We just got to find that guy, Jay.
Yeah, I agree. Off topic real quick. I just looked at the Florida State Georgia score. Florida State's down 28-3 to Georgia early in the second quarter. That feel terrible for them, man. I mean, none of their players are playing, so you really can't look at that as a referendum on their program there. But holy shit, man, that's sad. That's really fucking sad, man. I don't have anything else though, sir.
No, man, that's it. Guys, I hope this was therapeutic for you. It was kind of just we were just venting our feelings. I mean, we didn't have a real strict script on this episode like we usually.
How could you? How could anybody?
Yeah, So
Dude,
hope
how
you
do you
enjoyed it.
prepare for
Hope it
this?
was helpful for you. Better times to come, Buckeye Nation. And we will see you soon.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Hopefully better times are ahead.